Yo, what is going on, everyone? My name is Nick, or The Notorious Fantasy, and in today's video, we're going to be doing a 12-team Dynasty startup draft with rookies. This is going to be a super flex draft as well, since I feel like a majority of Dynasty leagues at this point play using the super flex format. We're going to be doing a 10-round draft. Now, I know that a lot of Dynasty leagues, their drafts are going to be 20-plus rounds, so if you have any questions about some players deeper in drafts, let me know down below in the comment section, or maybe you're brand new to Dynasty fantasy football, you got some questions, just ask down below. I love to talk to you guys down there. Before we can get on into this draft, though, I would like to ask that if you guys are new to the channel and you do end up enjoying today's video, that you please make sure to hit that subscribe button down below, as well as hitting that like button. It would help me out a ton. If you want to follow me on Twitter, please do so at NotoriousFNTSY. So without further ado, let's get into this 12-team Dynasty startup draft with rookies. So I think a lot of people say the top 4 picks is kind of the best spot to be in, because more than likely in the top 4, we are going to get one of the wide receivers, whether that is Jamar Chase or Justin Jefferson, and then a bunch of the top end quarterbacks, and you kind of get your picking if you're picking at pick 3, 4, right? You feel very happy about that. We're going to go from 7 here. Ultimately, though, I don't think there's really a bad pick to have, so we're going to go right close to the middle at pick number 7. So the draft is going to begin here with Patrick Mahomes, followed by Joe Burrow, Joe Shiesty, Josh Allen, Justin Jefferson, Jalen Hurts, and Justin Fields. So we are up at this pick at the 107, and I think ultimately it would be foolish to miss out on Justin Herbert at this spot. Now, if instead of Justin Fields at the 106, I do like Justin Fields a ton. Do I think Justin Fields is worth the 106? Probably not. I definitely would go with Justin Herbert over him. If Justin Herbert was selected at the 106, I would have easily went with Jamar Chase at this spot. I think Jamar Chase is in a tier of his own at wide receiver with Justin Jefferson. These are 2 young, excellent wide receivers that will be on your Dynasty team. If it lasts for 10 seasons, they should be there for all 10 seasons, and they should be putting up humongous numbers year in and year out. Justin Herbert, obviously the starting quarterback of the LA Chargers. Now, while we all know that the Chargers are going to always charger when it comes to the playoffs or in some important games, they might end up shit in the bed, but ultimately Justin Herbert is one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. That's not a hot take. It seems like Keenan Allen's going to be back. They have Mike Williams. They have the weapons. They get rid of their offensive coordinator. They bring in a new one. I really think Justin Herbert, the pervert's going to have a great season, and to infinity and beyond, right? Like I'm fucking Buzz Lightyear. He's going to have a million great years to come. One of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. I honestly think that's a no-brainer. After Herbert comes Bijan Robinson, Jamar Chase, Lamar Jackson, Trevor Lawrence, CeeDee Lamb, Breece Hall, A.J. Brown, I almost called him C.J. McCaffrey, Christian McCaffrey, Kyler Murray, and Jonathan Taylor. Now, the most interesting difference between regular redraft drafts right now and Dynasty drafts is that no one is worried in the slightest about Kyler in Dynasty because, hey, even if he misses half this year, even if he misses the whole year, which I don't think is going to end up happening, you just kind of say, fuck it, whatever it is, what it is. And then next year, you're going to be perfectly fine with Kyler Murray. Obviously, in redraft leagues, people are very nervous about him. So obviously, Bijan Robinson, the RB1, makes perfect sense. This guy looks like a freak athlete coming out of college, out of Texas. Think he's going to have a great rookie season and obviously be a key piece on this Dynasty team. I do, though, think going 2 running backs off the rip in a super flex draft is a little bit crazy. So looking at the quarterback position here, again, super flex quarterbacks are obviously very important. Bryce Young, Dak Prescott, Deshaun Watson, CJ Stroud, Tua Tagovailoa. I think I'm fine kind of biting the bullet here and waiting on quarterback. I think Bryce Young should be the number 1 quarterback selected, though people are going to say that this guy's as short as Kyler Murray and panic a little bit looking at the running backs. I like Kenneth Walker in Dynasty, but I don't necessarily know if I want to be banging the drum here and selecting him in the second round. Think I'm fine waiting. So we're just going to go wide receiver here. Best wide receiver available. I think if we were playing a redraft league, I'd probably go with Tyreek. But since this is Dynasty, we're going to go with the younger Miami Dolphins wide receiver. I think this Dolphins offense is going to continue to get better and better. Tua Tagovailoa in his second year with the Mike McDaniel system. I think this team is set up for the future. I think Jalen Waddle is going to continue to put up numbers. I think even though Tyreek Hill is the wide receiver 1 on the team, it's not really a number 1 and number 2, it's a 1A and 1B. After that, we see Bryce Young, Dickey, Dak Prescott, Kenneth Walker, Tyreek Hill, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Travis Kelce, Saquon Barkley, Diggs, Watson, CJ Stroud, Austin Eckler, and Kyle Pitts. It's interesting to see how people view Kyle Pitts because his first 2 years, despite being this world-renowned prospect that everyone gets down on their knees and gives the Gawk Gawk 9000 to, he hasn't been the best. Again, I'm not saying he's a bad pick, though, inside of the 3rd round, especially with how the tight end landscape is right now. Looking at quarterbacks, Tua sitting here at the 3.7. Now, after Tua, we kind of get into a zone of quarterbacks that I'm not 100% sold on. Trey Lance, I think he'll be the starting quarterback of the Niners. They obviously paid heavy draft capital. They paid out the hoo-ha to draft Trey Lance. Anthony Richardson, on paper, looks amazing, but you watch the games at Florida and you're thinking, no way this guy should be drafted as highly as he's going to be drafted. Will Levis couldn't beat out, what's that guy's name? Off the top of my head, Sean Clifford at Penn State. Doesn't look the best. I mean, again, Will Levis, Anthony Richardson, they're going to get this high draft capital. I'm just not too sure if in the 3rd round of a dynasty draft, I want to be drafting them. So I'm just going to go with my guy, Tua. I have strong belief in Tua. I genuinely think that Tua is going to be a great quarterback in the league for years to come. Some people will avoid Tua here because they're worried about injury problems. If you're worried about it, then I probably would just go wide receiver there and draft a T. Higgins type, Chris Olave type of wide receiver there. After Tua, we see Mark Andrews, Travis Etienne, T. Higgins, Garrett Wilson, DK Metcalf, Cooper Kupp, Josh Jacobs, Devontae Adams, Gibbs, and then we see Drizzy, Drake London. So we have a relatively young team right here, obviously. Justin Herbert, Tua, definitely not spring chickens at this point, but they're also not 7-8-year vets in the NFL, and obviously Jalen Waddle, a relatively young wide receiver. The running backs at this point just aren't guys that I'm enamored with. Now, could you go running back here? Definitely, but I think in Dynasty, ultimately just grabbing a bunch of young wide receivers is my strategy, and then you can just kind of put together a ragtag team at the running back core. And if you do have a league that's super deep at wide receivers, say you start 2 wide receivers, you have 2 flexes that you can play wide receivers in, you're playing 4 wide receivers a week. Some leagues are playing 5 wide receivers a week. I don't think you necessarily need the greatest running backs on earth to dominate. Chris Olave, Devontae Smith, Jackson Smith, Najigba. Between these 3, I think you can really just flip a coin. Devontae Smith, obviously, great prospect coming out of college, looks great in the NFL. Chris Olave had a really solid rookie year. JSN has yet to be drafted yet, but looks like a great prospect out of the Ohio State University. Again, you can flip a coin. There's not a 3-sided coin. You can really go with any of these guys. I'm just going to go with the guy I like the best, and that is Chris Olave of the Saints. Now with Derek Carr, I think this is a really good spot for Chris Olave to be in. Again, I don't think that Derek Carr is necessarily the greatest quarterback ever, but anything is a huge step up from Andy Dalton. After Olave, we see DeAndre Swift, Devontae Smith, Najee Harris, Hawkinson, interesting in the 4th round. Javonte Williams, who I love. I like him a lot. Who knows how much usage he's going to get this year? Early on, might play week 1, might be 4 or 5 weeks into the season, but I do think he's a great dynasty pick in the 4th round. Deebo Samuel, JSN, Ramondre Stevenson, Derrick Henry, Trey Lance, Joe Mixon, Nick Chubb. Since we drafted 2 quarterbacks early, I think it's a little bit crazy to reach on like an Anthony Richardson here. We can wait much later to get our 3rd quarterback, though I do think having 3 quarterbacks, at least that you feel like in the foreseeable future that are going to start, is pretty key, in my opinion, to winning. Obviously, if you have just 2 guys, the bye weeks are going to hurt, but so is if there's an injury, you're basically shit out of luck, and then you're going to have to be paying out the ass in terms of your draft capital to try to get another quarterback on your team. Like a guy like Kirk Cousins, who no one's clamoring for, if someone goes down, they may be willing to pay a 1st-round draft pick next year for Kirk Cousins, even though Kirk Cousins really isn't the best. So the quarterback value in these Superflex Dynasty leagues is crazy. At tight end, like I like George Kittle, but in the 5th round of a Dynasty league, like it's not like George Kittle's 12 years old. George Kittle is 29 at this point. A little bit older than most people probably assume he is. Running backs, I like Pollard, I like Pierce, I like Cook. any of these guys. But again, am I clamoring to draft them in the 5th round where I could just continue to hit the wide receiver button? The answer is no. Now, Jordan Addison is pretty interesting. I think a lot of people are going to be in on him. Some people might not like him as much. Seems like a pretty polarizing prospect, in my opinion. If you want to just go strictly youth, you can draft Jordan Addison. He's going to be a 1st-round pick. He should be safe. But I'm going to go with kind of the more risky option. We're going to go with Christian Watson. Now, he's also very young, but I think a lot of people are kind of up in the air on Christian Watson because what's Rodgers going to do? Is Rodgers going to be a Jet? Is he staying in Green Bay? How good is Jordan Love if he ends up leaving, right? There's a lot of question marks. Is Christian Watson really even that good, people will say. I'm pretty sold on Christian Watson. After we see Christian Watson comes Michael Pittman Jr. A lot of people in my audience do not like Michael Pittman Jr. I think he's a little bit better than a lot of people give him credit for. But it doesn't also take fucking the second coming of Randy Moss to be great if they're going to get as many targets as Michael Pittman Jr. After that, we see Tony Pollard, Anthony Richardson, Will Levis, Jameson Williams. I love Jameson Williams. Damian Pierce, Jordan Addison. Then we see Chris Godwin, Dalvin Cook, and Jerry Jeudy. So we are back up here in the 6th round. Again, I don't think it's necessarily important to spam quarterback here. I think we can continue to wait before we get a 3rd one. Again, the running backs are just kind of icky at this point, right? We could start 4 wide receivers. And if I'm in the 7th round and I could get Cam Akers or Miles Sanders, like, what's the difference between one of those guys and Alvin Kamara, who's probably going to be suspended, right? J.K. Dobbins, who the Ravens could easily add another running back. Zach Charbonnet, the new kind of, the rookie piece. Everyone loves rookies, man. But ultimately, am I feeling like a team that I think can easily win now, that's also heavily built for the future because we have such young pieces? I don't think we necessarily need to just jam Zach Charbonnet onto this roster. So we're going to go wide receiver. Again, if you want to go tight end, go right ahead. But we're just going to go with best wide receiver available. I love Quentin Johnson. I'm just going to keep it a buck with you. I think a lot of people will look at the stats, right? I don't think Sleeper has college stats. Of course they don't. But if you look at his college stats at TCU, they don't come, if you don't watch the tape, if you don't actually go watch Quentin Johnson or you didn't watch the college football playoffs, you probably would think, oh, this guy's kind of overrated because of his stats. At the end of the day, what I'm looking for in a player from college is not necessarily these crazy stats. It's what you see with your eyes. It's passing the eye test. And to me, Quentin Johnston cracks, smashes, devours, eats for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. The eye test. After that, we see George Pickens. I don't like George Pickens in the 6th round. George Kittle, Treylon Burks, McLaurin, Moore, J.K. Dobbins. The 7th round opens with Kirk Cousins. You like that? Kenny Pickett, Alvin Kamara, Pat Freiermuth, Hollywood Brown, Brandon Ayuk in the 7th round seems very good. Calvin Ridley, if you had to guess how old Calvin Ridley was, I think most people would say that Calvin Ridley is actually younger than he is. He came in the NFL a little bit late. He's played how many seasons? Since 2017 all the way up to 2021. He's 28, and he's played 5 years in the NFL. So again, I'm not saying he's old, washed, but I think a lot of people probably think he's a little bit younger than he actually is. At this point here, again, I think we can continue to wait on running back and just kind of have a ragtag team at the running back position. Tight ends, nothing's really screaming out to me. I do think Dallas Goedert's good, but he's getting up there in age. But again, if he's just my tight end every week that gets 10 plus points, I'm still pretty happy with that. A lot of people love Michael Mayer. Let's see. Let's see what he does in the NFL. I'm pretty hesitant. I get in Dynasty, you draft Michael Mayer and then you just bench him, but rookie tight ends just never perform in the NFL, the rookie year. So I hope people aren't drafting him assuming this crazy production. So we could go running back. I think we're just going to go wide receiver. We have so many young wide receivers that I'm fine drafting a guy that's a little bit older, like D-Hop. Now, he's not going to be a Cardinal, probably has 2-3 years left of greatness. You could go Calvin Ridley, similar, but I think DeAndre Hopkins is the better player. Christian Kirk, also good, not super old, 26. But again, there's going to be a lot of cooks in the kitchen in Jacksonville. I think we're just going to go with the old vet here. We're going to go with DeAndre Hopkins. Some people might scoff at that. But again, he's a guy that, you could easily see playing over Quentin Johnston early on, and then maybe later in the year you give him the boot for him, or just play matchups. I'm not necessarily here trying to have DeAndre Hopkins in my, or not DeAndre Hopkins, have Quentin Johnston in my lineup instantly. So after D-Hop, Zach Charbonnet, Dallas Goedert, Rachaad White, who's just going way too high. Like, I understand Rachaad White's the RB1. They get rid of Leonard Fournette. They're going to bring another running back in. And even if they don't, that team's pure dog shit. Aaron Jones, Russell Wilson, Danny Dimes, who just got paid. The Brinks truck was backed up in front of his house. Makes no sense how we got that much money, but I guess that's just the way the NFL is going. They're giving these quarterbacks who are mid, crazy contract. Amari Cooper, Cam Akers, Calvin Ridley, Boutte from LSU. So we're back up on the board here. 3 rounds left. Think we need to snag another quarterback that is going to be useful soon, but I don't think the 8th round is it. I think I'm going to wait till the 9th round to pull the trigger. We don't have a running back, so I like Pacheco a ton. Could the Chiefs bring in another running back? Definitely. Miles Sanders, I don't think is going to be an Eagle. I think he's going to be in a new spot, but I think wherever he lands, he should be the guy. So we're going to go with Miles Sanders, even though he's a little bit older. But again, we have so much youth on this team. Besides our last 2 picks, right? Like, not like Miles Sanders old or something. Let's see how old he actually is. He is 25. So he's not super old. D-Hop is pretty old, but besides that, we've been pretty young. Deontay Johnson, Christian Kirk, James Cook, Mike Evans, A.J. Dillon, Mike Williams, Keenan Allen. I love Mike Williams in the 8th round. Michael Mayer, Brian Robinson. You see Dalton Schultz, Jahan Dotson, Isaiah Pacheco. Back up on the board here. I love Devin A-Chain. Devin off the chain. I love this guy. I think he's going to be really good at the NFL level. And I think in the 9th round, I think after the NFL draft, people are going to move him up significantly more. So in the 9th round, I am going to select him. I'm going to run straight to the podium and pick him. I think this guy has immense upside. We'll see who comes back in the 10th round. If Derek Carr's there, he's probably going to be our pick. A-Chain, Jared Goff, Geno Smith, Downs, Algier, Hyatt. Jalen Hyatt, I thought would run a little bit faster in terms of the 40. That dude took a deuce on Alabama, scoring 5 touchdowns against them. It was crazy highlights. I tweeted them out a couple days ago. That guy looks really good. Didn't run as fast as I thought he would, though. Darren Waller, Kmet, Njoku, Bateman, and David Montgomery. So here, you could go tight end again. Once you're at a certain range of tight end, you're kind of just going to draft a bunch, and you're just going to jam them in every week, whichever one you perceive as the best. And again, we don't need some crazy tight end when you have a roster like this one. So I'm fine waiting on tight end. If you want to pull the trigger on Evan Ingram, at this point, look, we've seen Evan Ingram be someone that people in Dynasty and people in fantasy football would get down on their knees for. They loved Evan Ingram as a Giant. His biggest problem was just that he couldn't catch the ball. And then he goes to the Jags, plays quite well. Again, I'm fine just drafting McBride or Kincaid or Chig, Noah Fant, just any of these guys, Mike Gesicki, that you just throw into your lineup. So I'm not clamoring for one here. I think we're just going to take Derek Carr and then never have to worry about quarterback again. Derek Carr signed with the Saints. He's going to be there for 4 years, more than likely. And then we just rotate him in if Justin Herbert or Tua gets hurt, or when they're on bye, or we use Derek Carr as a pawn. Because if some team looks like they're going to, oh my God, we're going to win the whole thing, and then their quarterback goes down, well, guess what? I could trade you Derek Carr. So I want to go with Derek Carr here, and that closes out the draft. So let me know down below in the comment section what you think about this team. Do you think our team is good? Do you think it's bad? Do you want to see another one of these? Because I could definitely do another one. Again, I only did 10 rounds. Maybe next time we'll do 14 rounds. But again, I tried to keep it around 20 minutes. I didn't want some video that takes forever. If you have any questions, you want to talk about some of these players, let me know down below in the comment section. Let me know what the best team is here. I understand some people don't like when you draft against the computer, but it's much easier to make a video when you're drafting against the computer. And I think the computer on Sleeper is not like terrible. Like, I don't think it's clear that we're drafting up against like some garbage computer systems. Thank you guys for watching. I really do love you guys. Make sure you hit that subscribe button down below if you ended up enjoying. Make sure you hit that like button as well. Love you guys all so much. Hope you have a great rest of your guys' day. And as always, good boy.